She Makes It Happen, a series of online conversations unlocking theatre making with female artists. Produced by Little Soldier Productions with the support of Spain Arts and Culture and Spanish Embassy in London.
Welcome everyone. Here we are with Iara Solano. Welcome to She Makes It Happen. This is our Little Soldier online talks, unlocking theatre making with female artists. First of all, we have to thank our sponsors. She Makes It Happen is a series of online conversations with leading international artists of Spanish heritage, supported by Spain Arts and Culture and Spanish Embassy in London.
First of all, I have to say thank you very much, Iara, for joining us today. We're very excited. Iara, as you probably know, she's a performance artist, producer, and curator. She's the founder of Sleepwalk Collective. She's an associate artist at Teatro La Badia and the artistic director of Intacto Festival. She's also currently coordinating the performing arts programs in Juve. Iara, we met last year, I think, or a couple of years ago, after one of their performances of Kourtney Kardashian, which was a three-part show with Sleepwalk Collective. It was a trilogy, and I have to say their work is absolutely mesmerizing. I fell in love with it. It's really poetic, also very political. And we could not do this series of talks without having you here, because we'd love to hear about your process and we'd like to hear more about your work. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure, and to just find ways in which we can keep sharing and meeting, even if it's across miles or whatever. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. So just in connection to what Mercè was saying, like the meeting at Patricia Art Center. So let's say if we want to meet after one of your shows or wherever, what would you be drinking? What would be the drink that you would be drinking?
Well, I'm gonna enjoy this meeting, this talk. That's the way to start. Yes. Possibly a beer. I get quite thirsty during the show and after the show. I like wine, but I think after a show I go for the beer. It's just more refreshing.
One of the things that we enjoy the most is going to the bar after the show. It's like one of the things for sure. So yeah, great. Yeah, cheers to a beer.
So we'll make a note for the next time we meet you.
You can get me a beer after you come and see my show. Thank you.
We'd like to ask you first of all, because you are very busy. You are just about to open a show this week in a couple of days. So we wanted to ask you first of all, how are you? How are you?
Oh, thank you for asking, guys. Because after everything stopped, then everything just we had to kind of just go from 0 to 100 or 200 in just 1 year. So it's been pretty crazy, but I'm okay. The show is going well. I'm working with Chris Brett Bailey and with Sammy Metcalf, and they're a joy to work with. It's going quite smoothly with the theater as well. I think everybody's so keen to make it happen, to go back, to meet with audiences, that everything is like in its right place. Everybody's got like a lot of energy, and we can't wait. This is not usually the case. I'm usually quite busy. I'm not able to do this or anything pretty much before premiere. During a run, I'm pretty useless. I can get on stage, do my thing, and then have a beer and die. There is quite a lot of energy that has been accumulating that I am putting to good use. So yeah.
Fantastic. So you are like this Thursday, no? I think you said Thursday. Did you manage to rehearse a lot, like because of this situation? How did you actually manage to
Well, luckily, this is a process that started over a year ago, and we already had a couple of residencies, one in the UK at the BIC, Battersea Arts Centre, and one in Conde Duque, who is co-producing the show. And then we had a residency via Zoom. It was more like a writing residency because it didn't make sense to try to do much in terms of action. And yeah, we're premiering in Conde Duque. And they've been very supportive. They've given us over 3 weeks of rehearsals in one of their amazing, wonderful rooms. And we've had the theatre, we've had a technical residency in the theatre, again, it's going to be including the run of 3 nights of about 10 days. That doesn't really happen, you know, when like everything is up and running, it's just come and go, and there's no time to kind of accommodate the needs that sometimes a production has. So again, we're very lucky that all of our partners and collaborators kept supporting us for this project. Also swimming pools, which we will be premiering later on in the year in La Badia. Yeah, we're super grateful to all the partners. They've been really supportive. So we've been able to just focus on the work rather than in trying to make it work, just the work, which is what
that's amazing. That's amazing. And it's, I think it's very important to give credit to those venues, you know, who are really pushing forward the work, and, you know, because there's this controversies now with, you know, whether postponing or canceling, or, you know, so it's really important to acknowledge this in these current times. So great. Next question.
I think we're going to focus a little bit more about the, you know, we've touched a little bit on the process of making and how many weeks, and I think we're going to focus a little bit more on the devising process, which is something that we are very excited to hear more about. But I think let's go back a little bit about maybe about you and what makes you excited in terms of when you see a piece of theatre and performing arts, where do you get your inspirations, and what makes you inspired? Yeah,
I guess it's kind of like intrinsically linked with the experience that I want to create. When I go to the theatre, I like to be taken somewhere. I like to be almost kidnapped. I like to be moved, and yeah, I'd like to feel that the experience is not just sort of cognitive or brainy, but also sensorial, and I want to kind of feel yeah, in my body the show. I think it happens with dance and with theater. But yeah, I guess that would be it. I would just, yeah, I'd like to just be taken somewhere, to just forget who I am, all the crap that I have to do, you know, just yeah, just kind of try just going somewhere else.
Amazing. And so this is it was part of the next question, actually, like, what do you value in other art forms? When you were talking about, you know, taking me away to feel, to, you know, because there is always this very I'm gonna say it, but a very simplistic way of saying it, like, you know, there's this storytelling where people got from A to Z and they tell me a story that has got a narrative arc and I have to follow it. Whether
no, for me, I like to work. I like to work as an audience member. I don't, you know, when everything is done, I like mystery, you know, I like to be seduced. So that means that implies work on my side, on the audience side. So when we make work, we also try to do that, to basically give them enough hooks to kind of hold onto from, but at the same time, to leave enough space for people, yeah, to just go somewhere entirely different and realize that they're coming back and they've maybe missed 5-10 minutes. We're okay with that. And what I like in other forms as well, like in terms of mostly, I think, dance or music, yeah, there is something that happens when you stop thinking, when you stop, your voice inside your head just stops. And it's miraculous these days, because we always have this voice telling us just constant, this constant speech. And when music can do that, music works in a different way. Music just makes your body tune into it. You don't need to understand it. You either tune into it or you don't. So I think that's kind of what I like, and what I try to kind of extrapolate from other art forms, and try to find how we can do that from being on stage within a much more difficult, in a way, context, because music, you know, you can listen to it at home or even as a communal experience on a festival, and you can be yourself. There are no protocols. You know, theater, I mean, I like to have the attention of the audience and, you know, black box, and to have them cocooned, but at the same time, it demands certain things that other art forms don't demand. So it's finding ways and shortcuts to try to get to them in the way that other forms can do. For example, for psychodrama, which we're opening on Thursday, we're working with wireless headphones again. So we literally can whisper in the audience's ear, and we kind of like, we try to, yeah, it's a very sensorial kind of experience, we hope. We'll see.
And we saw actually, is it with your new show Swimming Pools, are you also incorporating dance into the piece? How is that process been?
Interesting. I mean, I've started dancing. I'm going to apologize to real dancers. I don't have any technique. I'm not taking classes, but I'm dancing. I hope that some of these dancers listening are proud of that, because, you know, we should all dance. But this is something that we've been very, very interested in the company for a while. A few years ago, I did a collaboration with a Brazilian choreographer under the name Beaches. The show is called Party, and it's an immersive dance piece for 10 audience members. And yeah, it's basically the audience just follows some instructions. They're blindfolded, and at the end, there is like a party and everybody can dance, and you're blindfolded, so you don't see, you don't get seen, you know, there's this freedom in the form. And also with Sleepwalk, throughout the years, I mean, we also directed a ballet in Brazil a few years ago, so we've been directly playing with choreography and with dance, but also in a way, I think we have also been doing it without realizing. For us, all of the elements in the show are equally important. We don't use music to make a moment more tender, or we don't use light to shock or to change scene. You know, they're not functional. For us, they're like bodies as well. So we try to give the light as much importance as we give the text and the body and all of these elements. And I think because of that, there's been a way in which we work with the body on stage, the way the body moves when it's not dancing, but it's kind of suspended. There is this quality of presence that we look for. And we've always thought about the lights being present and dancing in a way, and the music is very important, so it's quite rhythmic. The way we say the text, it has like this kind of quality that we haven't really played with in terms of choreography with before. So we were very interested in doing that, and we collaborated with Alice Touch, who works in London. She's Italian American, but now lives in London. And she opened like a whole new world to us in terms of more like technique and also freedom, you know, basically just showing us how we can work with our bodies. I am on stage with 3 other performers, 3 other women, Camila, Rebecca, and Jung. And yeah, it was wonderful. We don't now expect to be a dance company, but most of the work that we've seen also throughout the years moves in between the two. It's basically people making theater that's slowly moving to dance, or people that make dance kind of playing with the rules of theater. And we're interested in exploring that kind of, connection.
Those connections. That's very fascinating. So I'm going to just start with the process a little bit, and in terms of the journey of the processes that you go through. I know in every case might be different, but if you could explain to us a little bit, like, what is the starting point of one of your projects? How does it start? How the journey of making a new piece?
I think the obsessions are what kind of drive us, and the themes, and they're always kind of the same, which is love, 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 death, nostalgia, the passing of time, want and desire, you know, and form. We're very, very interested in form. We've played with a form of karaoke, of opera, of just yeah, all these kind of structures that live within more like maybe pop culture or day-to-day life that we like to play with as like skeleton for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess every time we start a work that is basically just from our desire to make something, comes from an obsession or something that we touched in the previous one but couldn't quite land or couldn't quite fit within the previous show, because we're quite ruthless when we edit. At first we want to do everything and want to say everything, but then ultimately, obviously, there are things that we need to sacrifice. Mm-hmm. So those kind of stay there lingering, kind of like satellites, and they come back to us in dreams, in the shower. So there's kind of always a thread loose from a previous show that we kind of pull from.
Okay.
Sometimes, like in the last few years, we've done shows that we've been invited to do. For example, this opera, which is where I met Mercè, Kourtney Kardashian, which is the kind of like the end of a trilogy about the idea of the Kardashian sisters. It's not about them, but it's like about the idea of what they represent. We were invited by the Festival of Teatro Clásico of Alcalá, and the invitation was completely open. We just needed to do something that we could call classical, and we don't really work with classical texts or anything like that, but we do work with form. So we started thinking about the weddings of Figaro, the marriage of Figaro.
Yeah.
Mozart, and we started playing with the idea of the opera, because the previous two shows, which were also were made almost like out of the blue almost. The first one was this ballet that we did in Brazil with a ballet company from Palmas, and they basically invited us to direct something, and we thought, well, okay, we have these ideas about the self and the body that you present publicly and the body that you really have. Kourtney Kardashian had just released a book of selfies, which is a work of art in itself. It's just her selfies with captions. It's just the captions alone. I mean, it was just really cryptic and strange and exciting to play with. So we told them, yeah, we'll do this ballet, but if we can call it Kim Kardashian. They were like, yes, okay. And that's kind of all we knew because for us it's important to kind of make the work with the bodies that we're working with, the bodies, the minds, the voices, you know, the desires that these people bring into the room. So they bring a lot of the stuff that then ends up in the show. So that was the ballet. Then with we got invited by the Arden in Manchester to work with their students. So we thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we now did something to follow this crazy Kim Kardashian? Let's do Khloe Kardashian. So we played with the idea of a play, more like a classical play, because ballet for us means, you know, there's like this kind of, you know, thing that comes with it, this weight, this. So we did Khloe Kardashian with the students, and it was basically the show happened as The Three Sisters by Chekhov. Three sisters and one brother locked in a house. There's almost like a reality TV idea to the play Three Sisters. So then the third one, I mean,
because they are locked in this house-ish place, and
and all the drama and this drama that, but nothing really happens at the same time, you know. It's like very dramatic, but nothing really happens, and it was very interesting. So then the third one, we thought, okay, an opera. But we didn't kind of embrace it as, okay, now we do opera. We just kind of got the form and almost did like an autopsy of the opera. We play with it as we would now play with a, I don't know, a drill, you know, just not with, you know, we wouldn't really do it properly, but we would get away with it. So
it's like a deconstructed, it's like a, you know, a Ferran Adrià play, no? It's like a deconstructed opera, almost. Yeah, as an experience of the audience. So I guess like there is all this, all the different elements of the people, the support that you have, the people you work with. There's the elements of your own world of obsessions and threats from other shows, and then the external world of, you know, like Kim Kardashian happening. So it's like kind of all these three universes. What are you, I guess, because you have different hats when you come into a production, I wonder what is that you, is there any of them that you enjoy more in terms of, or do you, is equally, or is in different times, different things?
It can be quite, come in, sorry, Sami's coming in because she makes it happen, but she doesn't make it happen alone. So, yeah, but to answer your question, it depends. I feel like I've learned a lot from yeah, having to swap hats, from trying to create a context for the type of work that we make, because there isn't really one. We have a lot of partners and supporters, and we're very grateful to them, but we don't really have a scene like more kind of like traditional forms of theatre or dance have. So it was very much about creating a space for our work. And we did so in Vitoria, because I'm from Vitoria, the north of Spain, and we moved back there just a couple of years after we founded the company in London. And that kind of gave me an insight, direct insight in, yeah, well, because we programmed scratch nights, and we also, later on, we ran a festival. And so you deal with audiences, you can observe how they react to work that is similar to yours. You deal with institutions as well, with patrons, with town halls, and you understand that you speak different languages. You know, like you need to be able to communicate what it is that you do. There is just so much to learn that you can then apply back to your creative work. So I really enjoy that, and I do not regret it at all. At the same time, it can be frustrating sometimes to find yourself being pulled more and more and more away from your creative practice, because all of these other things just take so much time and energy and dedication, and that's quite frustrating at times. And I felt torn. I felt like I had to at points just make a decision for my own sanity and physical health, but I can't do it. I cannot do it. I can't choose. There is a joy and so much to learn from curating work, from working with other artists, especially young artists. That's something that I really enjoy. We've been teaching a lot. I've been teaching a lot recently, and there is just so much to find in all of these places, and everything is totally interconnected. And I kind of like, I've always felt responsible to make it easier for the people that come after me. I haven't really had it very hard, but I've had some bad experiences that I've learned from, and that I want to avoid them happening to other people. And I think it's also our responsibility, if we're going to make work and share the work, because ultimately that's what it is for, we also need to kind of take responsibility to make sure that the context is right for everybody, that we can understand each other, that our difficulties as artists can meet the difficulties that a programmer or a producer or a theater director can have, and that only through talking or through doing that job directly, it's not that they don't want to do this, it's not that they don't understand, it's just you do need to be on the other side to understand, to embody what it is like. So yes, I'm still kind of juggling all of these things together somehow. We are on the lookout in Spain for somebody that can help with some of this, because it's, especially when I'm in the room, I want to be just in the room and not thinking I need to send this email, I need to drop that teaser, how are we doing in terms of ticket sales, this material has not arrived, but at the same time, yeah, like I'm saying, I think I might be repeating myself over and over and over, but it's just, you get so much from just understanding what all these roles mean, what the limitations are, breaking those limitations as well, and just meeting halfway. And I think that's the only way forward, to be honest. I'm working with the artistic director of La Badia, and I'm an associate artist. I'm going to premiere my show there, but at the same time, we talk a lot about what we need as artists. How can they help us? How can we help them? Because theaters, and especially now in this situation, they also need our help. And I think we should work together always. And maybe this situation has made it more apparent, it's made it more clear that we need to work together, but we always needed to. That was always something that we basically had to do. So
yeah, but it's true. Like, it's possibly now more than ever that we actually understand it. So going back to the creative process, so what is the part of this creative process that you enjoy the most? Is there a part in the process that you go like, oh, this bit, when we are just, when there is, I won't say chaos, but like when we don't know our way just yet and we're getting a bit lost, or when is it?
I mean, just before you start, it's super exciting. No, it's just like when you project how it's going to be, and so that I really enjoy. Yeah, almost what you imagine.
Yeah.
I'm going to confess, I have a very bad memory. So I'm going to try to think of the last kind of process that I did with Sleepwalk, which was for Zoom Impulse and via Zoom. So it's quite particular. But I have to say that what I really enjoyed about that was seeing my colleagues work, just seeing their work day to day, because we were obviously in lockdown, so we were all scattered around 3 countries and 5 cities. I think Sami and I weren't even together either. And we would have certain tasks, and then the next day we would get to see the material that we created. And it was just wonderful to see how hard they were working and the purity of the material. Because we weren't in the same room, there was no contamination. I didn't bring in this tone and then my colleague would then pick up from there, which is kind of already contaminated in a good way most of the time, because that's what the work is about, doing it together. But the singularities that we were able to filter through our work during the lockdown residency, I was just totally amazed. I felt like a little girl waking up every day to Santa's presents, because like the material will be there in the drive so that you would go and see the videos. And it was so exciting. And I don't remember being during a process so excited. I guess it was because I didn't have to take care of emails, meetings. I think that there's an element about, I was just an artist. So just giving myself to the work without any expectations, because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't have a deadline because the world had stopped. So that freedom was incredible. But mostly just seeing the work of Rebecca, Camila, Sami, and Jung, that just blew my mind every day for 4 weeks.
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Just kind of going back, like continuing in this like trace of the making process. And you've got a lot of elements stay from. You've got a very unique style and form, and a lot of them kind of carry on from one work to another. What are the? Do you be able to explain a little bit more to us? What are the elements that they always are there for you when you look at a project? And then, yeah, a little bit more about that.
I'm going to be very specific because I feel like I've been a bit vague. There's always a microphone, SM58.
Okay.
Those are the microphones with cable. So far in 15 years, we have not used any other mic. There's always a voice, mostly mine, because I've been working with the company for that long. And whispered or kind of like soft voice. There's quite a lot of statism, just like everything is suspended. It's almost like this quality of like tableau vivant, like a painting that is a painting but it just moves. And there's like certain like rotations, or the kind of like cadence of movement is always kind of, it's not slow-mo, but it's just is it slow-mo? Maybe. Projection has become very important, and that was not a choice. That was just practicalities. We were working across languages, so we had to subtitle. We toured Europe quite a lot. We went to countries in which the audiences wouldn't be either Spanish or English speaking, and we basically had to deal with that problem. But that problem became, I think, one of our greatest interests in making work for the stage, which is the written text, and that voice that can be yours as you read it in your head. It could be someone else's. This idea of the machine being alive, but not being super, it's not like a sci-fi idea. It's more about this reflection of like, whose are these voices? Is it the director's, that voice that is filtered through mine? If you read that, do you read it with your own voice? Do you make it your own? So I think, yeah, written text, projected text, smoke as M58, dresses, a lot of text, and yeah, little elements that we think look great, but then in long distances don't. We keep doing this. We keep using these little things that we find and love that is just not practical for the stage, but we like a little toy horse for Courtney.
Oh, I love that moment.
Yeah, but it's kind of wrong for the scale that we're starting to work somehow. So we'll see if we can keep that one up, or if we have to kind of move on to bigger objects. Yeah.
So
I think in terms of just the concept that we also think, and it's something that I've kind of said for years and I haven't said it today yet, which is that we also kind of look to do as little we can on stage, so we leave space for things to happen in the audience's heads and bodies, because as I said, the kind of this idea of texture within something that is removed, that you don't have the touch of the performer, but we like to kind of find ways of provoking that kind of experience. So yeah, we try to do as little on stage so we can leave space for things to happen to you guys sitting in front of us.
Work. You were mentioning just then, you were mentioning text. You talk, there is text, I understood projected, there is, so just going on the text, how is your writing process? Well, also, when it comes to the story or build up your story or your journey, but how do you make that text? How is that process for you? Do you use a text that is already written? Do you write it yourselves? For someone who hasn't seen your work, what could they expect?
We write our own texts. We haven't worked with other people's work before, text. When I make work on my own, which I haven't done a lot, but when I do, I write it myself. And when I work with Sleepwalk, it's Sami who mostly writes the text. A lot of it would get written after being inspired in the rehearsal room through improvisations. We work a lot with text frames. So we get a frame, which is like maybe a phrase that starts a certain way. And then we just repeat that first half of the phrase. And then at the end, we just keep adding things. For example, I love you because you invited me to do this talk with you guys. And it's, you know, I love you. So, and we just would do that for a long time. And almost like just going deeper and deeper into like our own, you know, whatever it is that we have here. So we kind of like we keep digging, and Sami will be making notes, and then he would compose text kind of inspired by some of the things that we kind of like shared in those improvs. And a lot of the time he would just like sit down and just write a text for the work that would accompany maybe a piece of music that already exists, because sometimes, a lot of the time is the opposite. We would have the music first, which is also made by Sami, and it's also original. And then you would find a text that could go nicely in my voice or Camila's voice or Rebecca's voice or Young's voice within the kind of like the soundscape. But we get it constantly inspired by things we see and read, and by music and cinema. I mean, we're very hungry. I'm very, very hungry person, so we're constantly just absorbing, and not so much specifically, we're working on this show, so I'm going to read this and underline that and take that. And no, it's just as things come, we just make notes of them, and they will always then just come out in the right moment, I guess.
And actually, today, just for some viewers at home, we share a producer, our producer, and she was
one of the attendees.
Sarah Jane, hello, Sarah Jane Watkinson, and she was mentioning today that your work has been published, the trilogy. So, is there anywhere where people can buy it? We can put like a little link after in the talk to you.
Merchandising moment.
I'm going to do a bit, since you asked, I'm going to do a bit of publicity.
Yeah, so exciting.
This is
really beautiful.
Yeah, it's the trilogy, and it's by Salamander Street Books. It's a new editorial, a new publishing house. And this is Rebecca, eating gold.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. Very
And so, yeah, this is Kim, Chloe, and Kourtney Kardashian, and you can buy it online in Salamander Street. We also have Domestica. Domestica was published by Oberon Books, and you can also buy it online. Yeah.
So we'll put some links after in the Facebook, and also of your work, your R&D for swimming pools, which was very beautiful, and it was also as well is available online. So we're going to put a link on that as well. And after this brief book moment, I think because we were talking about this process of writing and collaborating in the room and through improvisations and then scripting, we wanted to kind of touch a little bit more on this, on who's in the room in your room, and what do you look for in a team member when you get a team together for a new show?
So basically, we decide to work with people first, and then we make the work. It's not like, oh, we want to make this work and we need 3 performers, so let's do. We've never done a casting. Casting? Do you say casting? Audition.
Yeah.
Audition. Yeah. We've never auditioned. We probably never will. We like to work with people for who they are and the energy that they bring. And this is going to sound like mambo jumbo, but it's really important to kind of fall in love with the person you're going to work with, because you're going to share everything. And it's basically, we choose them for who they are. And we've collaborated with few people throughout the years, because it's not so easy also to find like a time frame, resources, so you can make sure that they're well taken care of, so they can give themselves to a project. Because I don't think we're very demanding, but the periods in which we work there, we work very intensively. And we like for the people to be able to just be there with us in the room. We don't, you know, force them to eat with us and, you know, basically share a house and all these kind of, you know, ritualistic. No, we're pretty simple and down to earth. But the work is quite intense, and we don't really know what we're doing until the very end, possibly sometimes the day of the premiere. So we need to have people that trust us, that are willing to be there and to trust the work, because I mean, we premiere in 2 days. We still don't have the full script for psychodrama. Swimming pools will be the same. So we work with people whose kind of voice feels right for the type of work we do, the body, and it's not like a canon, you know, it doesn't have to be, it's not something that repeats, like blonde, tall. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with an energy. We were working with Camila, who we taught for a year, and she has her own company, and we're collaborating with her. And at first, when she came into the room, she's from Peru, and she would change her accent. She would just do this clean Spanish, and we were like, what are you doing? She was like, oh, this is what I'm always asked to do. I'm like, no, we want you for who you are. And so yeah, people, we come across people and we think they have something, duende, you know, they have it. Or, you know, they have it for the type of work that we make. And it usually starts as a friendship or as a hunch, almost like a love at first sight. It could be like love at first sight. That kind of is what happened with Rebecca. Or it can be like, you know, like with Camila, we become friends, we talk about art, work, we go for a drink, and then we think, I'd like to do something with you in a room. Let's do it. So yeah, that's how we end up collaborating with people who we kind of fall in love for who they are as people and as what they can kind of bring as themselves to the work.
And just out of have you ever worked with non-actors, non-performers, you know, because I was listening the other day an interview with Angelica Lidl, and she was saying, I'm not interested in the actors or in the performers. Well, she sometimes works with performers, obviously. But it was very interesting because she said, I am very into the innocence and the purity of someone who does not belong to this world. And I don't know, what is your view?
For us, yeah, presence is really important. So you don't have to be trained as an actor. We don't actively look for actors or non-actors. It's just a type of presence. You walk onto the stage and we look at you because you have that, you know. It's true, we've never really been interested specifically in very well-trained actors because they do things that we're not very interested in doing. We everything is small and quiet and unspectacular and non-virtuoso. So people that want to shine, you know, they just wouldn't really fit with our work because there is no space for that kind of show off. Everything is done, it feels like it's just easy, it's just me here talking, sort of. So we do look for people who are not, you know, who their drive is not to shine as an actor. I have worked with non-actors in party. Non-actors, I mean non-performers. I've worked with people that have never been on stage before. And again, for that, what they do is they work with an audience member. They kind of hold their hands, they guide them. They sometimes have like a slow dance with them. You know, they develop an intimate relationship in which they don't see each other. All you need for that is someone who wants to take care of someone else, someone that has empathy and that has kind of templanza también, you know, like this just How do you say it in blanco?
That's a good question.
Oh my, this happens every now
Calm attitude.
Temperance? No, I don't.
Calm attitude.
Yeah, just calm, just.
We'll have to post it in the chat later.
What is duende?
If anyone has a Google Translate live, send
Someone
that.
put it in the chat. No, but what I mean is that it's just a quality that you have as a person rather than as a trained professional. And the people we're working with, they're from very different, backgrounds. We're not trained as actors. I don't feel like, again, like I apologize to dancers earlier. I apologize to actors now because I'm not trained. And it's sometimes a joy. I would say to Angelica, sometimes it is a joy to have someone that is trained as an actor that can tune it down for your work, but ultimately can bring it up if you want to. Because, for example, this happened with Rebecca, the one that is eating gold because she's trained as an actor and she's amazing. And she tunes into our work really amazingly because of energy and just, who she is. But also she has that kind of technique that when we're both on stage and I'm like, wow, you know what you're doing and it's working and we like it. And, but it's just in tune with the rest of the work. So again, I think it depends on the person.
Yeah, I guess so.
I have to say that someone has written in our chat, it's the word is temperance. Temperance, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but since we are going into our chat, if anyone wants to post any more questions on the chat or on the Facebook or here on the Q&A, please do so, because we are coming to the end. There was still so many questions we wanted to ask you. Someone has asked us, one of the things that we wanted to ask you before we finish this section, because you mentioned about you're opening in 2 days and you're still working on the piece, which is like an experience that a lot of theatre makers go through. When is the work finished?
In general, when do we think the work is finished?
When do you think, okay, this piece now is finished? Is there a point that you think this piece is now finished?
No, I think because of the nature of our work, it just never finishes. I mean, our work, for us, the audience is the centerpiece, is the heart, is the core of the work. And it can never be complete or finished without them. And they change night to night. Also, we don't quite fully grasp what the work is ourselves. We imagine how it can land or the impact that it may have. We certainly hope that it can have an impact, but we don't really know what that can be from person to person. It's not linear, it's not narrative, it's not kind of wrapped up, it's nothing like that. It's quite open, even though I mean, it's strange to talk about this because it's very structured, and in terms of light and sound and the speech is very technical, but the material is open-ended a lot of the time. We have a show that is, for 13 years old. We were going to do it in Edinburgh this year because Summer Hall invited us for their 10th year anniversary. Because it was one of the first shows to ever be at Summer Hall, so hopefully next year. And that the show hasn't changed. We're not changing a word. We're not really changing a movement, but it feels totally different every time. I am aging. It's a show that me aging has an impact in the show without the show changing. But also at the same time, to try to be a bit more concrete, we would change things after the premiere for quite a long time. And then we would stop changing things. We wouldn't consider it finished, but we'd force ourselves to stop changing things, because then you would end up with a show totally different from the previous, from the first show you ever made, and you will just keep changing and changing and changing. We decide to make other work and to just think like, okay, this is where we say we stop working on it. but we're never like, this is it. And that can be 2 years, 2.5 years. Also because we would make a version in Spanish and then we would make it in English, and then that retrospectively would change the original, whether the original was Spanish or English, and then that will change the other one. So it's just kind of this ping pong, these two forces in terms of like the language and how translating it or doing it in another language for another type of audience would influence the work, and then we will just tweak. So I would say maybe a couple of years until we stop working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a bit of a boring question, actually. Do you read reviews? Do you go like, or is it something that matters to you apart from a, producing point of view? Just saying like, oh, let's see if people got it, or people got what we were trying to make them feel, or how is that experience for you?
I read reviews because, yes, I read them. They have an impact on me less and less and less and less. At first, when you start, they're everything. They're your only return you have with strangers, in a way, with people that are not your friends. And in contexts like Edinburgh, they actually mean something. They can change your run completely, in terms of audiences and everything. In Spain, there isn't really a culture for critical thinking and reflection, which is a shame. At the same time, I'm quite relieved that I don't have to kind of worry about that. I think it would be great if we wrote about work more than we do so. There was a shift when we kind of passed the 10-year barrier. I somehow understood our work much better than I had before. Being on stage can be difficult. You have to trust the work, but you don't really know because you're not outside. You don't actually experience it how Sami or the audience experience it. But I've learned to trust the work and to not worry so much about like reviews or audience numbers, even for this is going to sound bad, but I have to, this is how I feel. I don't really know, if we're selling well or not at all. And I don't care. I just want to focus in the work. I've worried my whole life about a million things. And I've learned to just loosen up and just try not to control or take care of so much stuff. And there are things that are not our responsibility. And we will always read the audience in the room. And for us, that's what's important, to read the audience in the room.
Yeah. It's really lovely to hear. And also, like, do you actually, when you're making the piece, do you actually have the audience in mind? What role the audience have on your process? Is at the end, during it, or at the beginning? Yes.
Oh, they're the absolute protagonist. Like, I'm on stage and they think that I'm the protagonist, but it's not me, it's them. And truly, I mean, I really, it's everything. It's everything. What we try to do as an artist is we try to create experiences for an audience. And it's not most of the time like participatory, it's not like we don't engage them physically, but we try to engage them in every other way we can. Through their, like their senses and their, like their imaginations and memories and feelings, and we have them in mind permanently. That doesn't mean that we're going to give them what we think they might want. We're not nice like that. They have to work sometimes, and they will be bored and they will be angry, but it's part of the experience that we hope we can create. So it's not about basically pampering, them and just being super lovely, like, but it's more like a mother can be sweet and lovely, but also there's rigor and there is force there. You have to kind of remove yourself sometimes from just being this soft figure. The audience it is for them. We work for them. We want to create experiences for them. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I think we don't have time for more. I mean, it's been so fantastic. Thank you so much for letting us in your process, and I think we've got like lovely comments online. People are saying please more of these, and we have more. On Thursday, we're going to be talking to Carolina Valdez, so please tune in at 7 p.m. UK time and 8 p.m. Spanish time. It's been, as I was saying,
an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Iara. Thank you so much, especially because, as Mercè was saying, you are opening a show, and just to, break out of that is and come and talk to us is brilliant.
But, no, I really mean it, that these spaces are really important, and to share this, and I'm like now I want to shut up and I want you to talk for an hour. I want to ask you questions. Maybe we do this informally another day.
Yeah,
could have a tea or something. But no, it is important, I think, sharing the practice and just having insight in other people's work. It's we're all especially now, again, connected, and we should support each other and open spaces for each other. So thank you so much for opening this space. Like, in general, this project is amazing. I'm going to be tuning in every night. But thank you for inviting me to be part of it and to talk for so long. But I hope it's the first of many, possibly more informal meetings.
Yes. We are just going to take the opportunity very quickly to say thanks again to Spain Arts and Culture and the Spanish Embassy in the UK for supporting these events. And every Tuesday and Thursday up until the 24th of September, we will be talking to women that make theatre. She makes it happen. So that's it from us. Thank you so much.
We will be sharing all those links that we mentioned about Iara's work and books coming up and performances coming up. Just really quickly, when can we see you in the UK?
Oh God, next year we're going to be at the Showroom in Chichester, Theatre in the Mill, Bradford, Battersea Arts Centre, London, Home, Manchester, and other places that my brain is trying to memorize everything for this
all
week.
of them.
We'll put links on your website. Keep an eye on the website. All the very best.
Facebook, those things. We put everything we do there. So
As we say in Spain, mucha mierda for Thursday. If we are allowed to say that, it's break a leg. It's our way of saying break a leg. Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you. Let's make it happen.
Thanks for watching. She Makes It Happen was produced by Little Soldier Productions with the support of Spain Arts and Culture and Spanish Embassy in London. For more information about Little Soldier Productions and our online talks, head to www.littlesoldierproductions.co.uk.